Mainstream Metaphysics with your host, Nick Newmont.
And hey there, hi, I'm Nick Newmont. Welcome to Mainstream Metaphysics. It is a dreary, rainy night here on November 26th here in Westlake Village, California. We'd expect it to be sunny and warm, and you know, it's a nice change of pace having the rain. That voice that you hear introducing me, that is the voice of Ed Hunt, our director and producer that runs this show, and it wasn't for Ed, this wouldn't happen. Thank you, Ed. Before we started, Ed and I are a year apart in age, and we reminisce a lot about music and movies and movie titles. And there was the movie called Harlow, about Jean Harlow, that was done in the 60s. The theme from that was done by Neil Hefti. Now, you guys are going to go, who's Neil Hefti? Well, if you remember the TV show Batman, that Batman, that was Neil Hefti. So I invite you to look up in Apple Music or wherever and listen to Girl Talk by Neil Hefti. You'll know the tune, especially if you have gray hair, okay? I don't expect any 20-somethings to know that song unless you are very educated in music. But it's excellent. And orchestrations like that, we need a few more of those nowadays, right, Ed?
Yes, sir.
We do. Anyway, it's fun to talk about stuff, and I am going to talk about a lot of stuff tonight, doing the show by myself. And sometimes I do the show by myself because there's topics that you folks write back to me about when I post about planetary alignments and all this stuff that's going on. And I say it like that kind of sarcastically because it is stuff, and we're going to get through this stuff, and we get through this stuff. And, you know, we have to learn to go with the flow of things and navigate some of these challenges better. You know, I still watch people freaking out and getting upset, and I don't mean just in the last month. I'm talking about over the last 4 years. And people have to learn that perception is everything. And it, depending on how we perceive it, is what our minds are going to do with it and how we are going to act upon circumstances and situations. And like, for instance, just recently, one of my female clients was going through some physical challenges, especially in the area of female parts. And we know that those parts are more complicated than what men have and seem to have recurring issues. And then all of a sudden got it in her mind that she did some critical thinking. And I encourage everyone to do more critical thinking instead of emotionally reacting, and discovered that some of the emotions that she was carrying, and including a bit of bloating in the lower stomach, was connected to a current romantic relationship that she was in. And through some coaching, not insisting, to look closer at the situation, broke up with the guy, and all of a sudden she feels better. And ironically, her monthly cycle, which was delayed, and she knew she wasn't pregnant, all of a sudden she got her monthly cycle. Well, imagine that. Folks, our body pays attention to our feelings and emotions and vice versa. And when our body speaks to us, we are supposed to pay attention. The body is an amazing piece of machinery. It is more complex than a Lamborghini, and it needs to be treated with high-end fuel, taken care of, so that it runs properly. And when we pay attention to these signals that we're getting and certain body parts, which is beginning in January, starting January 13th, Audrey and I, with others that we bring on board, are going to share with you at our center the 8-week course called Healthy Mind, Healthy Body. And we get into all this, and it's no accident that these, let's call them maladies, come into the body, and it's no accident that things heal. Sometimes all of a sudden and miraculously. When we just pay attention to all the signals that we are getting from ourselves, and instead of languishing in upset and emotional trials and tribulations, when we pay attention, all of a sudden things go well. And we look at it as coincidence and synchronicity, and it's just, nope. It's the body going along with the way it wants to go, and we're going with it. So anyway, and I'm happy for that person that she feels better, and, everything is going smoothly. Over the past 4 years, especially going back into 2020 with COVID, and you can really look at that as late 2019, officially, there's a lot of fear that has been running rampant. And again, this is where perception has got to come into play. If we imagine it as it's going to go bad, then it'll go bad. If we imagine it that things will go well, then they are going to go well for the most part. So, one step at a time, one day at a time, we are going to get there. Trust me. So, we are now a couple days into Mercury retrograde. And I put a post up on Facebook with some humor in it, because we have to find the humor in this. And there's something in here that I want to explain. And as I said in this post, and I have it right in front of me, Mercury will be retrograde in Sagittarius until December 15th. And some delays or information clogs are possible just in time for the holiday shopping season. Nowadays, shoppers want to avoid the rush and shop online and expect prompt delivery. Seriously? So the botched deliveries are already happening, and that happened to me. So I ordered something, and the carrier that's being used is a fourth-party carrier that is not a well-known name. For some reason, this company chooses to use them and try to deliver to the address that has closed hours. Sent me a note they couldn't deliver because the building was closed. And then I get a note from the and I can say this because this isn't who goofed up. It was something that I ordered from Best Buy. And by the way, for those of you that live in Southern California, I shop at Best Buy a lot. I think I pay their monthly lease at the Thousand Oaks location. And if you live in SoCal and you want to have something delivered, my advice is to order it online, have it sent to the local store, and go pick it up yourself, because the communication that went between the carrier and Best Buy, then I get a note that the item was being returned to Best Buy and they soon would be giving me a refund. Because it's Mercury retrograde, and I just took a step back and thought about it, I decided to send the carrier a note to clarify hours, availability, and didn't contact Best Buy. And sure enough, it got delivered yesterday, Monday. And this is the second time this has happened. So my advice is get it sent to the local location of the store, then go pick it up yourself. This is Mercury retrograde in action. Oh my goodness. This stuff is going on. It has been going on since Mercury had gone into the shadow period 3 weeks ago. Internet services have been dropping. Cellular service has a lot of dead spots right now, and we go right up and down the list of things that happen in Mercury retrograde, and you can set your clock by it, but you can't get upset. You still have to do the things you have to do. Would I go out and sign a contract on something right now? No, I wouldn't do that. But when it comes to this time of the season, and in 2 days we are at Thanksgiving, which is the official holiday shopping season, but we all know that if you've gone into any store like Costco, that the holiday shopping season really began on September 1st. Labor Day, roughly. You know what I'm talking about. But at this time of year where there is this cluster of shopping, and you better make sure that you give yourself enough time, because the planet Mercury, when it goes retrograde, it messes with commerce, deliveries, and things like that. And it also messes with communication. Recently, in one of my locations, I made it clear to the landlord that we were switching part of our internet service, but was going to boost or beef up another part of it, and they went and had it disconnected, and without really telling me. So then I had to scramble, get in touch with the character, the character, yes, the person I was dealing with was a character, dealing with the carrier, and get my own account, not the building, and fix that. And I could go on and on and on, and you have to laugh. And they are cosmic jokes that the planets are playing on us. The other thing with electronics right now that you've got to remember, because Mercury gets blamed for everything when it goes retrograde, is that the planet Uranus is retrograde until around January the 30th. And it's Uranus that really has to do with the wireless and the Bluetooth and all that. Mercury is more about the device itself that you carry or use. And I'm hoping that is sitting here broadcasting right now with Ed that everything is under control, and we'll stay online, right, Ed?
Yeah, looks good so far.
Jeez. So, look, when Mercury is retrograde, here's what you do. You go inward. Look at your thoughts. Look at your inner communication. This is a time to maybe sit down and journal. If there is something that's bothering you, what's going on the deeper inner? Are there some plans that need to be reworked? I just happened to find out that someone I know that is in a new fledgling business was going to name that business. And when I found out what the name was going to be, I was able to do the numerology on it and found it wasn't a good name. And I said, just wait till I can get involved in this and create a name, because your name is what you broadcast. And historically, in the decades that I've been doing this, when you name a business properly, it really it assists the success of the business. As the old saying goes, what's in a name? Everything. Everything. So if you get to a point where you have to name something, get in touch with me. It's what I do. One of my students who's done a lot of work with me has been doing numerology readings, and I'm so proud of her for doing this, and called me the other day and saying she's got a client that has a name, and because of the culture that he is, his name would not be very attractive for him to become an actor, and wanted to, I guess the term would be, wanted to anglicize his name. And she said, well, what do I do with this? And I said, the same thing I do. You sit down with pen and paper and you work it out vibrationally, numerologically, to come up with something that works for him, matches what his birth path is coming from his birthday. And there is no magic formula when you're naming. You have to experiment with it. Use a name that relates to what the business is and what you want that name to broadcast. For instance, this fledgling business that we're going to work on the name. Let me say it like this: if you're opening a whatever kind of business, like in the movie Elf, when Will Ferrell, Buddy, goes to this restaurant and he sees a neon on the window, world's best cup of coffee, he goes crazy because he doesn't understand that. And later when he takes the female character into the restaurant blindfolded, she drinks it, she's like, oh, so that's a lousy cup of coffee. So when you tout you're the best at something, you better be the best. But there's a better adjective that would not only proclaim your success, your proclivity toward whatever that is, but it would say something that demonstrates what the business is, in that process too. And that's how I look at it. I let people experiment a little bit, and then I take over from there. So, yes, Mercury retrograde all the way until December 15th, and I guess we just have to have fun with it. And my suggestion in the post, by the way, was to get up, get out, go to the stores, and buy it yourself. Along the way, you might get some exercise going from store to store, walking around. Get out and see people, meet people. And, the other thing about Mercury retrograde is that you hear from people from the past. And if you have a business, you're an entrepreneur, trust me on this one. People start to get in touch with you that maybe you haven't heard from in years. And I always have fun with that in Mercury retrograde. You never know who's going to show up in your doorstep or who's going to call you. And it's normally very positive when it's someone from the past wanting to use your services. So, in this post, I said just wait till next week when I lay Mars retrograde on you. Well, I'm not waiting till next week. I'm going to talk about Mars retrograde right now. And Mars goes retrograde every other year. Every other year. And it has a reverse of energy. In fact, for a moment, we have the overhead. I'm going to show the chart. There we go. All right. So Mars goes retrograde on December the 6th, 2024. And it's at 3:33 p.m. in Los Angeles, West Coast time. Now, when this happens, this is a reversal of energy. It can make people lethargic. It can, because Mars is the god of war, instead of people using their anger, or what we like to call righteous anger, it can cause people to be introspective to a point where it's almost depression. So if you feel that there's something that you need to talk about and something is bothering you, I would suggest that you do it because of the Mars retrograde. We don't want to internalize. Now, it's fascinating, and this is one of those synchronicities of numbers, that it happens at 3:33 p.m., and I hand calculated that myself. That's not a guesstimate. That's exactly when it turns retrograde. Not 3:32, not 3:34, 3:33. So this is an angelic vibration number that has to do with people and communication. And also, 3s represent problem solving. So this is a high vibrational time for this to happen. And when Mars goes retrograde, which can cause a certain amount of procrastination, look at this. The moon is behind Saturn as we set Mars retrograde. That's called a hunter's moon. And the worst thing that you can do on a hunter's moon is procrastinate, because a hunter's moon means karma ripens. So when you don't handle something, and when we say karma ripens, it means the problem gets worse. Here's the example I use about a hunter's moon for all my clients. You go to, you park your car at a parking meter and you don't feed the meter. You come out, now you've got a ticket. So you don't pay the ticket, and so now you've got a fine. You don't pay the fine, now you've got a court summons. You don't go to court. Now they're coming after you and suspending your license, maybe suspending your registration, and there's some kind of other summons that comes about, and if that's not enough, they boot your car. All right? So is that an exaggeration? Yes, but that would be the process that would take place in a situation like this. So we have to make sure with Mars retrograde, with a hunter's moon, that we don't go to sleep. We need to be paying attention in a cycle like this. And the moon at that time is almost in a perfect square to Uranus, which means people are flying off the handle. So with this Mars retrograde, this is probably going to bring up some passive-aggressive behavior. Keep in mind, which is not lost on us from a couple weeks ago, that Mars and Pluto are still in this opposition to each other, which is extremely volatile. So with the Mars retrograde going all the way into February 23rd, people are going to be stewing on things with this. And we also have Jupiter at 16 of Gemini squaring Saturn at 13 of Pisces. So some factions are going to be at odds with this. Jupiter is expansion, Saturn is contraction. So, and on top of that, we have a T-square. The Saturn at 13 here, again, as I said, is squaring Jupiter, and it's also coming across here, and it's squaring the Sun and Mercury. So this is really jammed up communication. For this to happen at that time, and especially we go into the holidays, into the new year, people just may be cranky, going into the holidays. So I hope not, but that is very, very tricky. So with Mars starting out the retrograde in Leo and backing up into Cancer, Leo is very flashy. Leo is very proud, and Leos are very proud in what they do. They're extroverted. With Mercury, with Mars going retrograde into Leo, it could actually, believe it or not, I'm not joking, could affect sex drive too. That's part of the lethargy with this. When it backs up into Cancer, then people become hypersensitive. So instead of standing up for yourself while Mars is in Leo and Mars in Cancer, it becomes whiny. The other thing about the Mars in Cancer kind of thing is that, and especially when it goes back into Cancer, which is in December, Mars in water signs can actually represent tendencies toward alcohol. So people may be, in the month of December, as we get to the holidays, people may be imbibing more than they usually do. So be mindful of the choices that you're making, at this time with the Mars retrograde. The other thing about Mars retrograde, because Mars rules Aries, which is fire, probably will be a wet, stormy winter. Now, depending on where you live, you get inclement weather naturally. But in places like Southern California, Arizona, places that normally have warmer weather, it may be a wet winter. Depending on what you have going on, that make you happy or not. You need the weather to balance things out. So with Mars's retrograde and overlaps the Mercury retrograde, this means that there's going to be a buildup of things that are not said, not done, and by the time we get to all the way into deep into May, when I come to think about it. So where Mars begins the retrograde in Leo, it's not going to return to that spot till deep into the spring. And so we want to be mindful of what things look like right now compared to what they're going to look like in May. And this could be an opportunity of going back and creating a big shift, in our lives. This is a time of retrenching. So if we can use the Mars retrograde energy over the next few months to think before we act and not fly off the handle, especially until Uranus goes direct around January the 30th. This is a lot of volatility, and especially as we get into January. And I know that people are wondering what certain behaviors are going to look like. How's the public going to act as we get into January? I think we have to be in a place of, using critical thinking again before people act or fly off the handle. And that Mars-Pluto opposition is going to come back again as we get into April. So I've really got my eyes on, a lot of these movements, over the next few months, and knowing that when we get into late May into June, we get a Neptune-Saturn alignment that I will be talking about after the new year quite a bit, and what that represents to us as a people and society on this planet, and an end of tyranny on some level, especially when you look historically when Neptune and Saturn aligned with each other. So be cool, folks. Don't fly off the handle. And just because a person has a feeling or an opinion, don't judge them or persecute them for that. Allow people to have their feelings and opinions, because this overlap of Mars and Mercury retrograding is going to create, if people aren't able to speak their mind, will create a lot of ill feelings. And we don't want holidays ruined. We don't want relatives fighting with each other over things that, for the most part, they have no control over. Take a moment and breathe, all right? So, I think I've shed enough light on that. Oh, do's and don'ts. Let's go there. This is something that I like to share when we have planetary retrogrades. And I don't mean the Mercury retrograde. We know what to do and what not to do in Mercury retrograde. All right. So, what to do during Mars retrograde? Exercise, Get up and move, even if you don't feel like it. Take care of your physical body, your vitality. Look at your bucket list. Is there something that you have been wanting to do that you just haven't done? Work on your confidence. Remember, Mars rules Aries. That's the first sign of the zodiac. That's the ego. All right? Continue to move ahead. Now, what don't you want to do in Mars retrograde? Well, as I've said already, don't repress. Get it out, whatever it is. Try not to act impulsively. Watch your patience level in Mars retrograde, especially overlapping Mercury retrograde. And don't shrug responsibilities during the Mars retrograde. You know, if there's something you're accountable for, own it. If you messed up, you messed up. There's no need to judge that. The other thing is, with Mars retrograde, is intentions can be scrutinized at that point in time too. Are you operating under there's a means to the end? You know, Mars before Pluto came along ruled Scorpio, and Scorpio has to do with undercurrents. You know, look at what is driving you to do what you're doing. And look at, once you get past your intention, your motivation, ask yourself what your incentive is for what you're doing, what you're setting out to do. What are you getting out of it? This is all part of Mars retrograde. Okay? All right. Now, as we look at ourselves on the doorstep of the holidays, and Thanksgiving is this Thursday, I think it's really appropriate to talk about thanks, appreciation, and gratitude. What are we grateful for? There is so much to be grateful for. I'm going to tell you a real story of what I've been dealing with recently. And this is I've never been asked to do this before. Now, a lot of you know that I help people find lost items. And comically, that happens enough in my own household. Have you seen this? Do you know where this is? Oh, come on, vibe in on it. Where is that? And most of the time, these things are findable in a pocket somewhere, or maybe in the cup holder in the car, or somewhere that it's obvious. They were just set down somewhere, okay? And have never had any kind of tragedy on the home front. And that's why I'm laughing about it, because a lot of it is kind of silly. Frequently it is, let me see, where's the TV remote? It's probably under a cushion somewhere. And some of the members of my household will, for some reason, walk around with the remote. I don't know why. Oh, my. And I'm lightening up the mood a bit, because last week I got a phone call from some people that were referred to me, a great referral source. And what I'm about to say is true. I'm not making this up. This is a family that the head of the household discovered a couple weeks ago that he's lost somewhere a big winning lottery ticket. And I must tell you that I have done everything I can to assist this family. I gave them strong suggestions of where I believe it is. I believe it is findable, and it's a significant amount of money, life-changing, and my heart goes out to these people, because the main person who bought the ticket is just sick over this, and they have about, at this point, 10 days to find this ticket. I know that when they came to my office and everything, I said to this man, there's a lot of things that he was able to confirm right there without him telling me anything. I got into exactly how he carries his money without him pulling anything out. He proved to me. It's like I was looking into his pocket. I described things in their home, in their business. And I actually went to their home and to their business to literally help them look for this. And this is one of those cases of unfortunate disorganization. And I am literally praying that they continue to look where I suggested and find that ticket. It's one thing to never find the ticket and know that they'll never get that money. The other thing that I pray to God that does not happen is that somewhere after the fact, after the ticket expires, that they find the ticket in some strange place. So as you watch this now, I can only invite you to send some prayers to these families so that that ticket is found. Because the level of gratitude that they already have in me coming to help them and do this for them, it was really high up there. There is not 1 ounce of greed or expectation. These are really good people. And somehow in a process of, let's just call them errors, that ticket has been misplaced. And I really want them to find this ticket. And they put a lot of faith in me, and that's a lot on my shoulders. And I really feel for them that they're going through this, knowing that somewhere at their fingertips was this significant amount of money. And by the way, if you're questioning, I've done the research. I saw the date that the ticket, that lottery was won. I saw the winning numbers. He plays those numbers all the time and has for over 20 years, and they did hit. So it's not a joke. It's not a scam. It's for real. And it's just an unfortunate situation of mental and emotional torture. And I can't imagine. We have all been in situations where someone may have given us a stock tip and we didn't buy it or didn't do whatever, and we look back, or maybe there was a stock we sold prematurely and didn't make as much money. Everybody's got a story like that to tell. Or maybe a job opportunity that we didn't take and find out that it would have worked out. But conversely, there's a lot of moves we make and look back and go, phew, I'm glad I did that. Imagine what would have happened if I hadn't. So, and of course, people think about in romance, the one that got away. So anyway, under the heading of gratitude and appreciation, I love prayers to go out to these people so they really do find that. So they can enjoy the prosperity and put their minds at ease, because the family member who has purchased and misplaced the ticket, a couple of his family members are angry with him. And I even told one family member, you've got to drop your anger. You need to let that go. And I got this sort of, weird sly smile on that as an admittance of guilt on that. Because this person, the guy that misplaced the ticket, doesn't need to feel any worse than he does. And this is one of those situations, they find that ticket, it'll go from feeling so badly to a sense of relief and joy. And I can only imagine the tears of joy that will flow when that ticket is found for everybody involved. You can see in working with them, the pain that they're going through, knowing that something that's really life-changing is just not showing up. And then you have to step back too, for those of you that are psychics or someone that does work like me, or spiritually and consciously inclined, and want to go, well, why would that happen? And that is not a question that I would pose to those people, but I think about it to myself. Why would this happen like this? How would that happen? So I'm only hoping that where the direction I've given leads them to, where I believe that is. Whew, it's tough. It's tough. So as we move forward into the holiday season with Thanksgiving and the December holidays that are in front of us, hopefully we can move into a place of gratitude and appreciation and thanks that doesn't just last one day when we're carving a turkey, that can carry us, into the year ahead, and having the ability to look at our lives and truly be grateful for what we do have. And that's part of the trick to that is, instead of looking at what we don't have, look at what's there in front of us. Everybody has something to be grateful, and many people have a lot to be grateful for. If you have the ability to get up in the morning and go to work and be healthy, that's one thing in itself. You have loving family members around you. There's a lot of gratitude in that. Whatever creates your abundance for you, there's gratitude in that and appreciation. And looking at life from the standpoint of, life really is good. We have gotten to the point where we are so affected by the environment, meaning what comes our way, which feeds our happiness from the outside, that we lose sight of what's truly inside here, of what happiness really is. And the world is a good place. There's a lot of weird things that are going on. God knows we've talked about, the age of Aquarius, and now Pluto is in Aquarius officially. And we are in very robust changing times at the moment, and things happening that we look at as unpredictable. And this is the way of times for a while, that we are going to see more and more things happen in our existence that, going back a year ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, we never thought that those things would turn like that. And so we exist in a time where we have to acknowledge of where we are, who we are, and what we have, so that we can move forward in life to gain or get what our intentions are driving us to attain. When you go into this holiday season, which really ends with the new year, that celebration, are you already thinking about your intentions in the new year ahead? What is it that you want to create? And to create that, what amount of gratitude needs to be in here that puts you in a place in your heart to receive? It's a time of giving this upcoming holiday season. We all know that. But it's not about the attitude of what I'm getting. It's simply the heart opening to receive the higher vibrations of love that feed our soul, that cause us to thrive and be this magnificent being that we are intended to be by the fact that that soul incarnated into this physicality. We are a piece of magnificence. We are a soul that inhabits this physicality. Ask yourself, who are you? Who are you on a soul level? A being that came in without judgment, without the purpose to attain on any level, simply pure essence of love has inhabited this physicality. And so that's why we talk about all the time, filling this vessel with love. On the soul level, the soul is only love. It's full of love. And we come into this physicality first as a baby, wanting love. And you can see in the eyes of babies and children, and I have grandchildren, 4-year-old, 9-month-old at this point. And to see the look in their eyes, it's only love. And so with ourselves as mature adults, and it doesn't matter if you're 20, 40, 60, whatever, when you look in the mirror at yourself, what do you see? Do you see love? What is in your eyes? We say that the eyes are the window to the soul. Even without looking at someone else's eyes, look in your own when you look in the mirror. Your eyes will speak back to you. Do some soul gazing at yourself. What do you see? What do your eyes say to you? Where is your life headed? Let this soul thrive in your physicality so you return to your magnificence of the divine, so that you can be, before you incarnated, who your soul intended you to be. Align your will with divine will and get out of your way. Everything is coming to you at all times. It's good. It's pure goodness. But sometimes along the way we are educated that we earn everything we get. Times are tough. Times can be hard. Not everything comes easy. We can metaphor that. Up one side and down the other. So when you sit down with family this coming Thursday to give thanks, remember to give thanks to yourself and for yourself. You are you. You are the most important thing in your life. And when you take care of you, that spills over into everything and everyone around you. Let your heart receive. Receive the love from yourself. Receive the love from each other. It's very powerful when you let your heart really work. The only intention in this incarnation is to fill the vessel with love as much as you can. Will it fill when you get to the end of this road? 30%? 60%? 90%? Are you loving you enough? What have you thanked yourself for recently? What have you done for you? It's not a matter of what's in it for me. How are you giving back to you? The one universal commandment is honor thyself, meaning you come from a place of love, truth, and integrity within that you radiate out to others, and they feel that. How do you take the happiness that you have and turn it into bliss and turn it into joy? How do you take it up a few notches? What are you holding on to that gets in the way of bliss and joy? Release that. Old feelings that don't serve you. Do you need to forgive yourself? Do you need to forgive others? Let go of all of that pain. And when you do that, you'll feel different. You'll feel better. Ask yourself, what's been bothering you? Why haven't you been feeling as appreciative or grateful for yourself in your life? What's lingering in there that just needs to go? And have the courage to release it. When people hold on to old hurts and feelings, they have a secondary gain. And it gives them a reason why they don't attain to whatever level and what aspect of life that's being held back. Something to think about. With Pluto in Aquarius, these changes moving forward, mankind being better to mankind, this is what we have ahead of us. But that's also in venturing into the Aquarian age, why things are so intense right now. And with Mars opposing Pluto, well, Pluto's in Aquarius, this is just the erosion of whatever we're holding on to. That's call it the tangible world. That's the false foundation that we build upon. This is a move into higher consciousness and a truer spirituality. And the more we move away from judgment of oneself or each other for how someone feels or thinks, within reason, people are entitled to their opinions, everything will evolve. And that's not just years down the road. The next 8 months are going to be very significant. Trust me on that one. You're going to see a lot of changes and a lot of things come to the surface. And facades are going to give way to reality. Be ready for truth. And ultimately, that's what's in your heart. Let the fear melt away and allow yourself to move into truth. Things to think about. Now, before I part for the evening, I want to tell you a story that's a little lighter. So, my family members wanted me to channel Merlin for them. So, I go home and sit on the sofa. And again, when you've witnessed that, you know that I have no idea what's going on when I channel Merlin, because I'm not there. And so, fortunately, one of my family members recorded the session, and some of you have heard us talk about the fact that we have a big 80-pound German Shepherd mix called Ruby. And even though she's 2 years old, she still has the energy of a puppy. So evidently, while I was channeling Merlin, she jumped up on the sofa beside me, Merlin, and was licking this physicality, which I had no idea. When I listened to the recording afterwards, they were telling her to get down, and Merlin evidently said that animals see spirits, and that there is a level of light that is exuded from a spirit like that, and the dog was attracted to it. And they said it was automatic. As soon as Merlin came in and took over, that Ruby jumped up on the sofa and wanted to buddy up with Merlin. And Merlin said that our dog has the same energy as a wolf. Now, that's really significant because one of the main animals that Merlin is pals with is a wolf. And sometimes Merlin will morph into wolf, or sometimes he will show up as a crow, not just the human Merlin. And if you've ever been to my office, there is a beautiful picture of Merlin, a painted picture of him on one wall, and there's a wolf on the other wall. And the wolf is also my animal totem. And this particular dog, even though we in the family don't say that, it's not my dog. It's one of my daughter's dogs. But that dog really likes to buddy up with me. So that evidently there's some truth in what Merlin is saying, that dog has wolf energy. So, but I must say that it was comical for me to listen to the recording and them chastising the dog to leave me alone while Merlin was in there talking. So, what next? But there was a time a couple of years ago when we had an event at the center, and we had the doors open up to get fresh air in because it was on the weekend. And evidently, while I was channeling Merlin, there was a bee that was buzzing all around me. And Merlin never paid attention to it. And what they said was Merlin just vibed the bee. Bee didn't sting this body. The bee just turned and left. So Merlin does interact with nature. He cooperates with it. He tends to be of nature. I think we've covered it all. Like, as we close, and I will be back next week with another show, I wish all of you a wonderful Thanksgiving and a good beginning to this holiday season. Folks, let's have fun. We've got to go back to having fun again, enjoying life. Be lighthearted, laugh it up, get with friends, get off your electronic devices, get off your computers, and stop ordering online. Go to the stores, go shop, get out with people, interact. It's time to be social. You know, the Pluto into Aquarius is the interaction of mankind again. Pluto in Capricorn is very restrictive, and we had 20 years of that. We have 20 years ahead of us in Pluto in Aquarius. It's time to get together again, folks. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you as always. I appreciate you as the viewing audience, and some of you I know very personally. And look forward to next Tuesday with myself and guest. And for now, I'd like to say goodnight to all of you. I really appreciate you watching Mainstream Metaphysics. I am Nick Newmont. I appreciate my friend back there, Ed Hunt, for manning the show as he does every week. And we are in the studios of Conejo Valley Talk Radio, this wonderful place I enjoyed being at. Have a good night. Happy Thanksgiving. And let's get off to a good start with the holiday season. See you next time, everyone. Good night.